Hello and welcome to this module on Power Platform admin, monitoring and setting up Office and Dataverse auditing. So audit log data allows looking at activity that occurred in the platform. So it's reactive, it's looking at what happened, and you need to actually enable this in the environment. So Office 365 activity logging will log into Office 365 security and compliance, and it logs things like creating flows, editing flows. You can configure webhook events to configure to fire things off on particular events, but it is a reactive thing, so it's looking at what's happened in the organization. So you can actually, Dataverse audit can be configured to monitor usage and modification of these Dataverse entities. So there are two types of logging that can be used. Office 365 enables some activities such as creating resources and using resources like flows or Canvas apps. This can be used without Dataverse being in an environment. Dataverse audit can be configured to monitor user usage and modification of Dataverse entities themselves. So there's Office 365 and Dataverse logging. So Office 365 activity logging, it's in the Office Security and Compliance Center. Audit records are stored within that environment. So if you're familiar with that, that's where you go to find it. There's also an API that you can query this data and report on it and do other things with it. These are the activity logs that are captured as part of the activity logging, and you need to proactively enable this. So you need to enable it must be Office 365 E3 or greater license, and you enable this at the organization level using these PowerShell commandlets. Non-service admins, if people aren't administrators but still need to see these reports, then you would use that commandlet there to give them access to whichever report they need to have access to. There is a page to look at, this here, if you want to copy that URL. We will make sure that this is available in the chat support bot. If you search for Office 365 activity logging, you will find that in our support bot. So what you can do for this is you can create a flow, a Power Automate flow to alert on key audit events. So you could say, okay, every time a particular flow is created, let's alert an admin or something like that. So you can achieve that via two ways. There's either a real-time webhook subscription that you could enable, or there's a polling approach. Now these are links here that will show you how to go and do both of those. Which one would I prefer? I think from a security and governance standpoint, I'd avoid webhook, and I'd actually make HTTP not part of your DLP, unless it's for a very specific environment that needs that particular thing. I'd have webhooks disabled. So I'd use this polling approach where I'd be querying compliance center logs and then looking for that particular event. However, by attaching flow to these alerts, provide more than just email alerts. So you can do things like, you could say, okay, if a particular flow is created, automatically share it with a group or something like that. So you could do this, you could do a lot more things than just email alerts. Database auditing, there's three levels of configuration. You need to set it at the environment, the entity, and then the field itself. So you can enable or disable auditing at the environment level in the admin portal for entities and attributes, entities and fields, also known as tables and columns now in Dataverse. Then you set a property value of that entity or the attribute metadata to say that this is audited. So this is where you enable it in the environment. So you'd go into environments, the environment, and then you go into features, and then click auditing. Enable for field. This user interface has changed now. You'd actually go into the make Power Apps entity, and it's a much more friendly. Like you'll find it pretty easily if you go to entity and field. There's actually an access button that you can click, which is a lot more friendly than this user interface. Part of the modern designer experience. It looks like that rather than this old school type of thing. But you can enable it for entities and fields, so just be wary. Just know that you can do that. And then once that's enabled, you can access that in the admin portal. That's it on security, and that's it on Office 365 and Dataverse auditing. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.